It's no surprise for many that the new live-action Snow White, starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, is underperforming at the box office.
No way!
In its opening weekend, it brought in an estimated $92.3 million. At this pace, it will likely lose money to Disney and become another box office flop for the major studio. The chart shows how this movie fares compared to previous Disney live-action films based on their existing IP. It shows that Snow White isn't dead last on this list. That dubious honor goes to Cruella with only $43 million. But when comparing how much the opening weekend brought in relative to the reported budget of these movies, Snow White has the lowest percentage at only 34.2%, underperforming its peers, even compare to Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass. It's that bad. Moreover, the budget for Cruella was only a reported $100 million compared to $240 to $270 million for Snow White. The actual budget might even be higher given the amount of reshoots and edits Snow White had to undergo, not to mention its advertisement expenses. Because half of the proceeds go to movie theaters, the movie will have to bring in at least an additional $400 million, or a total of well over $500 million just to break even for Disney. But since these live-action films' opening weekend revenue account for roughly a quarter of their total, Snow White might bring in less than $400 million, and that's before accounting for the uphill battle it's facing. But there's more to this disaster than meets the eye. Snow White is perhaps the perfect storm of all the problems Hollywood and the movie industry in general have faced in recent years. Let's see why this movie was set to fail. The direct reasons for this train wreck have been seen a mile away by anyone paying attention. Some of the problems the movie has faced, including endless reshoots, horrible CGI, controversy surrounding the making of the movie, numerous changes to the script, the horrible reception of the trailer, the backlash Rachel Zegler received over her public comments on the original Snow White, and the list goes on. Pretty much whatever could go wrong, did. But this isn't the whole story. In fact, there might be a problem this movie has faced even if it didn't have all these issues. Even if Rachel Zegler didn't face a media storm and the movie was well made, it still wouldn't bring in nearly as other live-action remakes such as Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King have brought for Disney in the past. Here's why. Let's examine Disney's live-action movies' performance in the past 15 years. We can put them on an XY chart in which the x-axis shows the Rotten Tomato score on a scale of 0 to 100, and the y-axis shows the gross profitability of each movie based on the reported data. For now, I will disregard the last three movies made, Cruella, The Little Mermaid, and Mufasa. The chart shows a steep upward best fit line suggesting a strong relation between how good the movie was, at least according to Rotten Tomatoes, which should be taken with a grain of salt, and its profitability or how much it brought relative to its budget. Since the quality of a movie, even just based on Rotten Tomatoes, isn't the sole contributor to its box office success, just consider any Adam Sandler movie that turned a profit, this relationship isn't set in stone, but it suggests that a well-made live-action movie could perform well at the box office. For example, Cinderella was critically acclaimed with a tomato score of 83% and did well at the box office. On the other hand, a movie with a low score like Alice in Wonderland 2, which was poorly received by critics with a 29% Rotten Tomatoes score, also flopped at the box office. But now consider the movies released after the pandemic. Cruella and The Little Mermaid scored well on Rotten Tomatoes, yet they have underperformed compared to other movies released before 2020 with a similar rating. And while Mufasa has brought in over $700 million worldwide and turned a profit for Disney, it's still underperformed compared to its predecessor, The Lion King, which earned over $1.6 billion. When I adjust the best fit line and include these last three movies made by Disney, the line is now much flatter, indicating a weaker relationship between movie quality and box office returns. In other words, perhaps people are less inclined to see live-action remakes even if they are well made and considered good, at least according to one quality measurement. The chart also shows another interesting finding. Some movies weren't good and still raked in a lot of money for Disney, such as the first Alice in Wonderland, with a rating of 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, so people may have also become less tolerant of watching and paying for bad movies than in the past. Another indication that the current times are making it harder for Snow White to do well at the box office is the dwindling number of moviegoers. The decline in US ticket sales started slowly before the pandemic and only escalated afterwards, and the numbers still haven't recovered to the pre-pandemic levels. One reason for this decline is inflation. The ongoing rise in ticket prices, especially in the past few years, probably didn't help bring people back to the cinemas. But also people have gotten used to staying home and watching a series or a movie. After all, there are so many options today relative to, say, 5 years ago, and new movies come to the streaming service in record time. So why would a family of 4 pay at least $50-$60 per one outing when they can watch it all together from the comforts of their home for a fraction of the price? These trends don't mean all movies won't make money at the box office. Movies such as Barbie, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Dune 2 are some of the mega hits of recent years. It's just that it has become much harder to turn a profit, especially with the growing budgets of new movies. So while the bad reviews, the social media backlash over Snow White, the controversies,
yada yada yada,
have all contributed to making Snow White a box office bomb, the shift in people's preferences when it comes to moviegoing is probably just as significant of a factor to make it less likely for this movie to turn a profit for Disney.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Thanks for watching.